Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. I'm your host, James Gardner, certified athletic therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, yoga instructor, human being. This platform, for the pros, by the pros, anybody in the performance space, and beyond. Welcome here to share in the stories of professionals, experiences, journeys, learning along the way. It's a platform to connect, to network, and to be a part of a community that cares, with conversations that matter, experiences that resonate, and generate ideas, thought-provoking, organic dialogue, passionate prose. Brought to you as always by First Star Therapy, Mobility Tape, Epic, and Benchmark Athletics, in association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. It's First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. Get this thing rolling along as usual. This is Let's Chat, an athletic therapy roundtable. This is session 26. 26 on a Sunday night. Keeping track of days is now a thing. We know what day of the week it is. We know what session we're at. That gives us a place in the universe. These sessions are recorded, as each and every one is, and then archived to YouTube for reference in the future, and for the purposes of saving the world, one conversation at a time, one videoed conversation at a time. And if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns for our guest, for myself, anything that's relevant and obviously appropriate, please feel free to unmute or type into the chat box. I'm more than happy to get to those. Really special guest tonight that I kind of want to Mancer, I'm going to have you sort of take us through your swimming bio, like from the swimming side of things a little bit more than I will. But Mancer Roberts II, Mancer Roberts is, I would say, a very close friend of mine from my time in the Bahamas, from our time in the Bahamas. And his bio I'll read, and then we'll get into sort of our working relationship, and then our relationship that grew beyond a working relationship, and then into all of your philosophies and your outtakes on swimming, on performance, and on life, because every conversation matters right now, and this is one that I don't think anybody wants to miss. Mancer Roberts II was born in Nassau, Bahamas. He has work experience in the Bahamas Electricity Corporation, but now currently stands as the Lyford Key International School head coach from 2016 until now. He's led the Dragon Swim program from a small and entertainment-based program into a highly competitive program with national level swimmers, highly qualified as a coach, and even more qualified as a human being to sort of lead young people, interact with young people, really puts his heart out there and his effort out there, and a very unique human being. That's not part of the formal bio, but that's my take on it. He's also generated a program called Swim Fit, an adult swim program from 2015 until the present. That's definitely had its ups and downs in terms of enrollment, but at the same time has really held value for those that you've interacted with on the pool deck. Mancer certifications include a level 4 ASCA coach. He's Red Cross certified lifeguard, certified surface supplied commercial diver, and a licensed boat captain. All things water, which is a good thing when you're living in the Bahamas, I think, but also to be able to provide a skill set that's both relevant to survival as well as competition, as well as relatable things all across the board. So Mancer Roberts, he's our guest this evening on Let's Chat. I'll let him say hello, and then we'll kind of get into how you got to where you're at, and then ask all the valuable questions like whether or not you've watched Tiger King and all those other things. But I'll let you say hi, and everybody else who's here, thank you for being here. Mancer, really appreciate you taking the time out. I know you could be doing a lot of things tonight, and taking the time out to have a chat is valued, and really appreciate it. Grateful for having you on, man.
All right, thanks, James. Good evening to everyone joining us tonight. And firstly, I'd like to say it's a privilege to be here. to see you again. First of all, James, it's been a couple months now since you left, and I think what I've learned and what I've gotten from you has been so substantial, and just really appreciative of the opportunity to be here and to talk and to share with you. So I am Mancer Roberts II. I'm a junior, and I'm here in the Bahamas coaching full-time now. But like James said, full-time aquatics, marine, and water. I love that environment. I love that element, and it's where I spend most of my days. Grew up here in the Bahamas, graduated from Kingsway Academy High School, went off to university in Texas Christian University for 1 year, where I did mechanical engineering and did some collegiate swimming. I then left that school for another dream to become a commercial diver, which was an awesome experience. Went to a commercial diving academy in Jacksonville, Florida. Spent another year there. Was hopes of working in the Gulf of Mexico on the huge oil rigs, making a lot of money, doing a lot of risky stuff. But that didn't go as planned, as so many other things in life. And so it brought me back home to the Bahamas, where I was looking for some more dive opportunities, dive work. But common thing here in the Bahamas is that you're too overqualified for what they have to offer. So I went through that arena, started working. I kind of went back into the engineering realm of things as I went into the Bahamas Electricity Corporation. So I served there as an assistant plant operator, where I monitored and maintained diesel engines that generate the power, as well as I had some dive opportunity on some submersible cables that run between the islands, giving energy. So I think that all that experience has brought me, full circle. I'm back into swimming, full-time, enjoying coaching, enjoying sharing my experiences, and just trying to be the best human being that I can be.
Yeah, man. And you do such a good job at that. And that's kind of like where the first time I met Mancer, I couldn't quite get past the fact that I don't need to tell your age, but I couldn't get past the fact that you're not 50 plus years old. The level of understanding of everything that is humanity, sport performance, human performance, just your very upfront nature, your personality, your welcoming of every day, these kinds of things very much stood out to me early on. I didn't know how that would play out over time because I'm a grumpy old miserable frump. And I just, that rubbed off on me from day one until the day we left, and continues to be an inspiration to me to wake up on the right side of the bed, no matter if my back hurts or my shoulder hurts or whatever's going on. This is very much very real in your life. There's always an upside to down, and even if it's down, you can still figure it out with some high quality thought and your outlook on things. So really appreciate you being here and for the influence you've had on my life. And with that said, before I open the waiting room, your ability to influence young people is massive, and for somebody that's not biologically aged, you are certainly aged with wisdom and experience beyond belief, really. And my son came on and had to say hi because he heard Coach Mancer was going to be on, so he was here just popping in to say hi, update him on his haircut. And he hasn't been in the water since we've left the Bahamas, but in a matter of less than a year, he went from not being able to swim or go under the water to being able to swim 25 meters. And that's very much 25 meters on his own, untouched. And he did it 3 times in like half an hour. And so it's very much, this is a swim program at the school that's very much like for the younger kids, very different from the upper level who are swimming at national. And we'll get into sort of like how that happens and how you work through that. But your ability to work with anybody from 6 to 60 is amazing for anybody. And you talked about your journey, so maybe we'll just jump back to that for a minute. it's not a straight line, you know, and a lot of us think
Yeah.
like life is linear, or professional life is linear. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get to that point, and then that point's going to happen, and I'll just keep going up the ladder linearly or across or whatever it may be. So you talked about all those different experiences shaping your life. Looking back, you know, it obviously wasn't the same trajectory as looking forward at the time that you were in it, right? So how did you navigate those decisions, and how did you sort of ultimately end up where you're at?
So for me, I think a lot of what I've learned and a lot of what I've done in my short years of life has been based on my early years of life, which I mean, I am brought up in a Christian home, firstly, and so I have a strong belief in faith, and so I believe that, you know, I'm not in control of every situation that's in front of me, but I believe that through faith I'm able to get through whatever it is. So I trust that when I take this next step forward, that I'm not going to fall through, and that it's just going to lead me in some direction. And I always talk about probably like dealing the cards, playing the hand that you're dealt, you know. And so if I get a crap hand this time, am I going to fold over and turn around, or am I going to, you know, try to play these cards in a way that's going to help me to get to the next hand? So I think those things play a huge role in what I do daily. And, you know, I've had goals, I've had things that I want to have accomplished in certain times. And I mean, just like we see here today with the whole coronavirus thing, you know, who saw this one coming? You know, most of us had major plans, major goals, things that we were hoping to do in March and April and May, but they didn't quite come to fruition. So, I mean, just being able to adapt and deal with the situation that's at the front of you today and be the best that you can be today is what I try to live by.
Yeah, man, and what a great philosophy to live by. It's sometimes easier said than done, but it's also sometimes easier done than said. You know what I mean? You just hunker down. You get tied to the moment that you're in instead of the past and the present. It's not an easy thing to do, but ultimately, sometimes it is, if with the right checks and the right sort of framework as you go through life. You talked about some major plans. You and I in my role, sort of assisted in helping manage a big trip that you had planned internationally into Canada. That one got sort of, it got messed up by Corona. Obviously, it was going to be a swim meet in Toronto where you were going to bring some highly qualified swimmers over here to participate and compete against some of Canada's young swimmers. That international platform, is that something you're looking to press forward? Because I know there's a couple people on here that would be very interested in dialoguing on that. Swim coach, you know, some athletic therapists who can potentially help out with some of those things on this end if and when you come. Is that something you're looking to pursue with this program moving forward?
Definitely. I mean, through sports, one of the biggest things that we get is the exposure to travel, meet new people, experience new places. And for me, I think that's one of the greatest things that I got from the sport. It took me to America. And I mean, even here locally, growing up in high school, I was a part of the national swim team. So we would have a Caribbean championship meet during the Easter time, and then we would have another championship meet in the summer. So at least 2 times a year I had the opportunity to go to a different country and participate and just broaden my horizon, my perspective. And I think that it is definitely something that I would like to, I mean, working with age group kids now, give them the opportunity to travel and have that exposure. And from the athletic therapy side of things, what I saw from you and what I got from you has been huge. Just thinking about my development as a swimmer, as well as my early years as a coach, a lot of the movement and just physiological things that I've gotten from you in this last 2 years has been more than I've even heard of in the previous, you know, not to say my age, but 25 years. So it's been really good. And I mean, definitely would like to, you know, meet and expose myself as well as my swimmers to that international realm and getting them more opportunities. It's definitely something I'd like to do.
Yeah, very good. And plenty of opportunities coming up to stay connected, and some educational stuff that I'm planning on my end, as well as some of the people on here that we've had on. You talk about some really valuable stuff. Competition's great. It's necessary for human beings. It's basically taking survival on a different level and saying elevate yourself, or get a new job kind of thing at the highest levels in sport. But in terms of the softer side of sports, we sometimes don't celebrate those values enough in sport. The ability to meet people you brought up, the ability to travel and connect with people who are like-minded. Am I okay? It's just telling me my internet is unstable. Am I good still?
Yeah, you're good now. We had a little mishap, but you're good.
A little glitchy. See,
Yeah.
no glitches in the Bahamas, and this is now the second time I've had a glitch in Canada. Freaking unbelievable. But you talked about some of the things that honestly, in our LTADs, our long-term athletic development models, we sometimes forget to celebrate all these things. And it's maybe not that we don't forget. It's just like that performance and competition and all those things really come to the surface. And that's how programs and coaches try to separate themselves from everybody else. Look at all these frills and things that we offer in terms of competition, but like taking a deeper dive into, okay, we don't need the fanciest stuff. It'd be nice to have, but we don't need the fanciest equipment or the biggest pool or the what can we do with what we have? And that's what you said, the hand that you're dealt, that's the one you got to play, because you can't look at your neighbor and say, I wish I had that hand, because then you're cheating. Right. So you don't want to do that. But and then you talked about the same sort of thing, waking up and your philosophy with like a positive attitude first. Right. Talk a little bit about your philosophy, whether you're dealing with a 6-year-old or a 26-year-old competing at the highest level in the Bahamas. Does it differ, and how does it differ, I guess, as you look at your approach as a coach, and then what your expectations are or your goals are with those athletes?
So yeah, I definitely have had a wide range of people that I've worked with, starting as young as 2 and 3-year-olds. I try not to go any younger than that. Some say it's my form of birth control, but it's been that group of kids is definitely an exciting bunch to work with. You have so many different 2-year-olds out there that you never know what you're going to get when you accept that type of lesson. But I've also worked with people. I taught a lady as old as 85 years old here in the Bahamas that had a pool in her backyard but never learned to swim. And so I worked with her for about 4 or 5 months over the summer, and she was able to swim a length in her pool, and that was her goal.
Amazing.
So, I mean, I've had a quite wide range of people I work with. I mean, competitive swimmers has been another story. So, I mean, I think for me, the difference comes in what they want out of it. I always feel that, and I'm one to say that it's bigger than swimming. Swimming's great, the competition's great, but I've gotten so much more than what I've gotten out of competition from swimming. So I try to be open-minded when it comes to different people and what they want in the sport or what do they want out of the sport. And so when I find that person that is truly motivated, that wants to excel, wants to compete, wants to get better every day, I get excited for that. As well as I get excited for the person that wants to exercise, just enjoys the water. And those are obviously two different approaches. So firstly for me is finding out what you want and what you want out of this, and then I'm best able to help you to achieve whatever that is.
Yeah, what a great takeaway, and really kind of ties the connective thread to a bunch of the guests that we've had on, if not all of them, that human first approach. Because if you don't understand that every 12-year-old doesn't want to compete at the national level, then you're missing something. And this is across the board. This is uniform to us as practitioners, performance coaches, parents, any walk of life. If you don't understand the other end of or the other side of who you're talking to, then you really miss the boat. So your ability to adapt to who's in front of you is unlike many coaches, if not, I don't want to say all, because I've had a few coaches that I've dealt with that very much see that, but definitely probably a larger percentage of coaches that don't see that. It's about different things, you know, and putting that experience first for who's in front of you really goes a long way. And then you talk about like a 2-year-old. I was blown away. We were blown away when we came to the Bahamas, and our son was 3 when we got there. And they're just like, all right, we're gonna do swimming in PE, and I think a couple of his classmates, like he dropped his goggles because he'd probably never worn goggles before, and they went to the bottom of the pool, and some of his classmates were 3 years old, and they just jumped in and dove to the bottom of the pool and picked them up, and we're like,
no questions.
Yeah, no questions, no hesitation. I got it, no problem. Came back up and handed it to him. And then, you know, I was lucky enough to have an office that kind of looked out on the pool. I could step out and see. And yeah, our learn to swim programs are very much like hold on, and just like hold on for dear life, and don't let your kid get wet while they're learning to swim. You know, at least my experience with them. I mean, I wasn't. We were there, so it was really interesting to see sort of the difference at that age. Yeah, I don't know, survival swim, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways of teaching kids, and it just funny stories. I mean, here in the Bahamas, most kids learn by being tossed into the ocean, you know, not even in a pool environment. You're just thrown in the water in the ocean, and let's see what happens. You know, you bubble a couple times, and your parent or whoever is watching you hopes that you figure it out, you know, and so that's not the best way, but you know.
Hope and help. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, identifying, you know, we had a biomechanist on here. I'm not sure if you were here live or if you went back and watched it, but Ryan Atkinson was on here, and he works with some of the highest level swimmers, or has worked with some of the highest level swimmers, and now he works in a different role, sort of administratively overseeing the performance realm. And he talked about identifying, you know, like identifying who wants to be there. And once you identify who wants to be there and wants to do like that competitive angle, then you shift gears and you can start to model that a little bit differently. So with your high-end swimmers in the Lyford Swim program or Lyford Swim Club, we'll talk about that a little bit, because high performance has a lot of different spin-offs. It's a very catchy phrase, but like it can apply to any walk of life. But when we talk about swimming, and your club specific, or the club that you're a part of, I don't want to say yours because I know you're not an ego guy, but the club, the Lyford Swim Club, how do you differ? What does that program look like for your national level swimmers that are swimming in your club, just in terms of hours and dedication? Maybe just walk us through that, because that gives everybody a little bit more context.
Yeah. So yeah, our club is right now at about, I think last year we had about 80 to 85 registered swimmers. About 20 to 30 of them were competitive. So a little less than a third, I think, were competitive swimmers, ranging from 8 years old or 7 years old up to, I think our oldest swimmer was 17. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, our club is based on, here again, I mean, what you want to get out of it. So we have different hours allocated, with our high-end swimmers training 13 hours plus the fitness training that they did with you the past 2 years, that we're now going to have to find some other magical guy to come and do it.
Hey, this is what Zoom is for.
So hopefully we get someone as close to you as possible. If not, I'm going to have to be calling you every afternoon to figure out what we're doing tomorrow.
Change is good. It'll be an upgrade.
Yeah, but I think our club, I mean, what we've seen with our senior swimmers, we have about 10 swimmers that are training at that, what we call the elite level, which are, I think we have a majority girls right now. There's 8 girls, 2 boys on the team, which the 2 boys were recent additions, which brought another dynamic to the team, and some good things, not so good things, but it's definitely been an exciting environment. I mean, we have, like you said, we were training towards our Toronto trip in April, or the end of April. That got canceled. Yeah. So we were pretty much getting there to our peak performance and getting ready to do a little taper down and get ready for that event. But obviously, like we said, that didn't quite happen. So we've been in a little return process now. Obviously, we've been back at practice now 3 to 4 weeks. And still taking it pretty light, getting some conditioning, but really focusing on technique these few weeks, and just kind of really awaiting for our schedule, our swim meet schedule to, arise, if that is to happen anytime soon.
Right, that's what everybody's chomping at the bit for. And you and I sort of talked briefly about it before everybody else signed in here. We're not there yet, at least in Ontario, in Toronto, where we're at. But it's I don't know. I guess it's inevitable. It's coming at some point. So what adjustments have you made? There wasn't a ton of cases either, contextually speaking, in comparison in the Bahamas. So this is also like, content is always good, but we need to come back around to context. And the last I heard was just over 100 cases in the Bahamas. Lockdown, had a prime minister who's a medical doctor, understands what the capacity of the medical system can handle. Went into lockdown, in my opinion, which is take it or leave it, did everything correct based on the information that he had and his knowledge of what could be handled there. But so different context. But in terms of what you've done to adjust coming back, what's shifted? Crossover times, these kinds of things, just from a logistics standpoint.
Yeah, well, I think we were firstly one of the lucky swim clubs here to firstly have our own facility, which was definitely very helpful, as well as we are one of the smaller swim clubs. So my return was not as difficult as some of the other clubs, because like I said, with our elite program, there's only 10 swimmers. So we started with just splitting them in 2 groups of 5 and just giving each group of 5 an hour to an hour and a half. And then each week we progressed. We introduced our tier below. So our next group of swimmers had about 20 swimmers. And so that was split up into 3 groups, and just really trying to work around schedule. The toughest part has been the hours, but now that we're out of school, things are opening up, so more hours during the day to do more training. Swim coaches always like pool time. They always want more time in the pool, but I think what we're doing is very technique based for right now, as the risk for injury after being out of training for such a long period is very high. So we've really just been taking it pretty easy. I'm gradually getting back into things. Like I said, just splitting the groups, wearing masks and when we're not in the pool, obviously keeping our distances, and just making it as enjoyable as we can, but still trying to remain as safe as we can.
Yeah, and then there's probably kind of a bit of a relief for you and for everybody else, like just sort of a sigh of awe. Like there's a hint of a component of my life that I've been missing, right? Like getting back in the water, getting people sort of somewhat together. I know people say like this is a new normal, just get used to it, and that's true. We are going to have to get used to it. We are going to have to change and adapt, because that's the reality. But there is something very sweet about being able to, let's say, like hug your grandmother, or allow swimmers to get on the pool deck beside one another and get that friendly banter going back and forth, but also get the movement back, right? I was kind of I don't want to say in charge. I was kind of integrative in terms of a bunch of different sports, and I think the most for you guys in swimming, because you can't really mock swimming unless you have a pool in your backyard, and not every swimmer has that opportunity, right? So it's like, how am I going to do like a bunch of strokes against resistance unless like I have a really deep tub, or, I mean, there is the ocean, but a lot of the beaches were closed, and ocean swimming is not the same because it's, predicated on weather and different type of water and all those other things. I'm privy to that, obviously, but that was a tough one. Like swimming, you can't really, video doesn't really do actual, right, when it comes to swimming. I mean, you can watch some and you can listen to people speak, but anyway, I just kind of felt, and I'm glad that you guys are back in, and obviously wasn't there to see it and miss that opportunity to say goodbye in person, although we had the one little one. But I think there'll be some connections in the future. I have a lot of really good people up here that are in the swimming world, and in the performance realm as well, that are willing to, I think, entertain a trip to the Bahamas once international travel is allowed on our end. I think it's opening back up there, right? July 1st. Yeah.
A little too soon for me, I believe. I think we've done such a great job at containing things here. And I
Yeah.
mean, we've had 0 cases for a couple of weeks. And, it's obviously you want to get things open. You want to get the economy back up and running. A lot of people are without jobs because tourism is our biggest industry.
Yeah.
So definitely we want that tourism again. But I think we are taking a risk. Hopefully the reward is worth it.
Yeah. Hopefully that's an educated risk. And listen, like nobody can predict this. So we go with good intention, and we hope that everything is medically clear and everybody's safe, right? That's it. But that being said, we won't say when things return to normal, but when things are allowable to do so, and we have a firmer grasp of what that's going to look like and feel like. I talked to you about this while I was there, and definitely while I'm here. I'll be happy to connect you with some people here that we could potentially do some off-season training and some back and forth or something like that. I know there's a swim coach on here who's a budding athletic therapist, and some other people on here who are very privy to the goings on of amateur sport up here, and connecting the dots across the globe is an asset of sport that even if it's virtual, you have sort of like I have lots of ideas. Anyway, we can talk about that down the road. That's irrelevant for right now.
Well, let's add that we do have a brand new facility coming up real soon. So you guys that are out there listening and are interested in coming down, come and christen our pool, be the first team down here. And I mean, it is something that we spoke about, James and I, about inviting teams and doing training camps. And I think this is a great place to train, get away from some of the colder weathers and do some outdoor training. And so we would be happy for that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah. And speaking of colder weather, like I'm a sweater, right? So I sweat all the time. But since being back here, I've been wearing pants and like sweatshirts on a daily basis, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's so hot out today." I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like it's kind of warm, but if I'm wearing pants, it can't be that hot. So like you change when you live in the Bahamas. So when you come here for winter, I'll be sure to have like a couple parkas ready for your each leg, and another one for your body, because I don't know, it's different. It was amazing to see. Like I sweat a lot all the time. Not to say that I'm not sweating, but anyway. The adaptation that's happened just from being away for 2 years and coming back, the different type of heat. And you talked about adaptation as well. I love the fact that you touched on returning to sport, including that as, part of my consideration here is the amount of time that you haven't been swimming, right? As a coach, there's some people that are going to say, "Oh, we need to get right back after it and, just go right to where we left off. Let's pick it up from there." The educated approach, I think your brother's actually on here, right? And he has a background in sport performance, sports science. Yeah, he's on there, I think. And you, as a coach, would always make your way over to like our training sessions, our sessions that weren't in the water when you were available to do that. So being informed about all the sort of non-pool and swimming technique stuff was a big part of what is a big part of who you are and what you do. I imagine that applies to different areas of your life, but to swimming, how valuable is it to have access to those kinds of things? And don't bring me into the equation, but like you didn't have it and then you had somebody, what elements were enhanced, and if there were any detriments, what did that take away from your program?
Yeah, so I definitely think it is a benefit to have some sort of knowledge for that physical or physiological and anatomy of a human being. I mean, I think an athletic therapist like yourself was substantial in what I did in the last 2 years. I've had, in my time growing up, I had 4 coaches during my high school years. So I've had 2 American coaches, a Cuban coach, and a Bahamian coach, all within 6 to 7 years. And so that has given me a pretty wide range of, coaching and styles of coaching and different understanding of what the sport is and what it's meant to be. And what I found that most swim coaches, like I said earlier, want more time in the pool, and that's it. They want to get in the pool, they want to train hard in the pool. But I think what I got from having someone like you was the maintenance and the mobility, the recovery side of things that I think is really beneficial and sometimes is forgotten because we just want to swim. And so I think just simple things like the IYTWs that I now do almost every day, and just really working on the things that we don't do all the time in the pool. So we swim a lot. We have a lot of overhead in the pool, a lot of freestyle, a lot of butterfly that I think swimming, the shoulders are most prone to injury. So just being able to revert and do the opposite of what we have been doing in the pool for, 2 hours a day has been great. And then just having someone that you're able to communicate with, and not just any athletic trainer, but someone that is willing to understand swimming and what we want our swimmers to look like, what we want them to feel like, how we want their muscles to perform. I think if you have someone that you're able to really plan and schedule your power phase, your rest phase, your speed phase, and really work hand in hand with someone like yourself, it's definitely long-term help as well as immediate help. You were able to, kind of respond and diagnose on the spot, what's going on with the swimmer. If they're saying their knee is cracking or, they are, feeling pain in their shoulder, and just having that knowledge, that understanding of, how to deal with it has been huge. And I think it's beneficial for, swim coaches as well as swimmers, just to have that understanding.
Yeah, and I think all of that is very nice of you to say on my part. But I think that there's also an element of support for coaches where you then don't have to do all of those other things, but then it also allows you to enhance what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
so this is a two-way street. You enhance my understanding of a lot of different things, how to deliver some fun into what you're doing. Not everything has to be overly serious all the time. I've been guilty of that for large portions of my career, but now like that laughter and sort of like some of the more natural things that come out of sport in your coaching style, I try to impart in delivery or just adding some medicine ball volleyball to the swimmers that we introduced over a swing set because we didn't have a volleyball net.
That was great.
That was awesome, and we still like undefeated. So we'll bring that back around. And I think that's one for the for the cottage. We'll try and tie that up in cottage country up here to bring some medicine balls and just try to kick the out of each other with some medicine ball volleyball. Anybody who wants some medicine ball volleyball tips, just let me know. And Mancer too. He's got some pretty good skills, some spins and some underhand
over the back,
underhand deeks and not messing around. But all of those things enhance on both ways, right? I enhance as a therapist. I can enhance a lot of things, but you can enhance the other way. My understanding of swimming is way greater than it ever was before in my life, to the point that I can actually put my face in the water and do a bit of freestyle. I can almost make 25 meters. I can almost keep up with a 5-year-old, but not quite. Still got the heavy body, but lots of tips just in terms of that. And then just like we looked at some video together, and we looked at some, just some mechanical things and a wrist that when it hits the water was doing this, and how that can affect a stroke or a pull or a time. Just spitballing some stuff back and forth, like a ton of good dialogue off the clock, so to speak, but on the pool deck, and just spending time getting to know the personnel. So getting to know you getting to know me. Communication was definitely a massive part of my understanding of what you're trying to get out of things. And to be and while I'm here, and I have her here as well, I think there's and I messaged her privately in the chat but Sasha, who's been on as a guest and is the head athletic trainer over at UB, I think there's a natural union here that you guys can connect if you're both willing and the situation allows for it, to build a nice little model where you can have access to that. They may not be in the office overlooking things right away. And I'm speaking for her, like she has all the time in the world to take on more. New mom, head athletic trainer, developing as all these other things. Yeah, she could do more for sure. But not do more, but potentially align to have some impact two ways, with some of these younger athletes, and a couple of the brightest professionals in the Bahamas that I met. You and her, I think there's a natural, if you don't know each other already, we can arrange that. And she's pursuing her strength and conditioning certification and all these kinds of things. But your openness, your willingness to sort of learn and take on all of these things, I think everybody's in good hands there in terms of you don't need me around just to unlock a shed and pull some equipment out and yell a bunch of things. But there was some really powerful stuff when you and I got together on warm up and dynamic and mindset, and you do a lot of mindset work with these young people, at least at the competitive level, right? Like some imagery, a little bit of like, I don't know, it doesn't physical yoga, some stuff where we're looking like outside of get in the water and swim faster, and then do that on repeat for thousands of meters, if not kilometers a week, and then you'll get better at it. That's it. You take an alternate angle. So where did that part start entering your world as a coach, or is that a personal thing that you build into your life, or specifically you do it with the athletes and that's it?
Well, I'll start by saying, firstly, swimming could be a very boring sport.
I think every sport could be boring.
No, but we talk about swimming down the black line, and just staring at a black line for hours and hours and hours and hours. And you only get to see if you got better is when you go to the swim meet and hopefully swim a best time, which sometimes happen once every 6 months, sometimes once every year, sometimes once every 2 years for those, older, more elite athletes. So I think trying to keep it fun and keep it different, not the same thing every day, has been what I've been after. Because for me, I want you to be happy. I believe a happy human makes a happy swimmer, makes a good performer. And so firstly, I need to be happy on the pool deck, because I believe that you need to have a positive mindset. You need to come willing and able to get better every day. So firstly, I need to be having fun. So some of those jokes and stuff that I say on deck is for me, and not always for the swimmers. It's to keep me motivated and to keep me happy to be there and wanting to get better. And so I think just changing and having some diversity is awesome. I think you have, like we said, I mean, I've had 5-6 coaches in my time, and none of them really gave me what you gave me in 2 years, that understanding of another component, something that is done out of the water. Most coaches, like I said, want more pool time. They just want to get in the pool, swim more meters, swim it faster. But I think the yoga brings another dynamic. I'm huge. I really enjoy visualizing, and not just for performance, but I kind of visualize this meeting, and just to kind of get a view of what things might be, and better prepare myself and prepare the athlete for what might be ahead. And I feel like swimmers' anxiety is huge for swimmers, because I think we work so hard every day, and swimming's a sport. It is an individual sport. You don't have a team to back you up when you're out there swimming in that lane, just you and the clock. And so if you're not prepared, if you know you didn't put the work in, then you're going to have a lot of anxiety leading up to that event. But those that are worked hard and that are confident in what they've done are better able to perform on the day. And so I feel like every day matters. Having fun every day and trying to get just a little bit better every day is something that I strive for. And whether that's in the pool, whether it's on the dry land, whether that's a conversation, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah. And it's so palpable just in having a conversation with you, even with like an audience here, or the first conversation I had where, I was probably fairly reserved and not open to really much in terms of like opening myself up. But we really connected on a lot of different levels, and certainly mindset and outside of the pool and outside of the sport or turf or court or whatever it may be pays huge dividends. And I'm not just talking like injury deterrence or sport training, right? The mindset is massive. And I think coming to fruition, even especially maybe more so now in the time that we're in, where we all now have to look a little bit further inside and see, like, if I'm not a swimmer or I'm not a swim coach, what am I? Well, You are what you think, really, when it comes down to it. So if I beat myself up every day, like I'm not achieving what I should, or I'm not doing on and on and on, as we mostly all of us do from time to time, it's not that you have to be positive every second of your life, but it's certainly choosing where you want to attach your focus and your energy, and what you're going to allow to take energy out of you, right? There's this energy in, energy out kind of equation that plays nicely. And you also segue nicely into the little reading that the little quote that I sent you just yesterday or 2 days ago. I think I got my days mixed up, and I was like, oh yeah, this is for tomorrow night. And you probably panicked, and I probably panicked, and it was Friday. But I'll just read this quote. And this one, like, it just jumped out to me, and it wasn't even a book that I was reading. My mom actually recommended a book to me, and she said, go to this page and read it. And as I read it, and it was not even in relation to you or a conversation that we're going to have, but as I read it, I was like, this is Mancer, and he's coming on in 2 days. Like, I got to share this with him, and just to let it ruminate. But this is very much it. So let me read this quickly here. When there's a crack in my mirror, I can't see myself as I am. All I see is the crack. The crack tells me that there's something wrong with me, that I'm not enough, and that this is how others see me too. It's not a question of finding a better mirror. It's about seeing beyond the crack. I am not, nor ever will be, perfect, but I don't need to live for approval. I need to live for acceptance and joy in the unique, worthy, lovable, beautiful, sacred being that I am, and to celebrate the same thing in others. That's seeing beyond the crack. I'm learning to love my imperfections. In the end, they make me who I am in all my flawed glory. And I think, like, for me, I read that, and I just went, you probably can't see it because it's a poor lighting, but I was like goosebumpy reading that, and hearing you say all the things that you say, and obviously working with you for a couple of years, like, there's no fluff, there's no faking this, there's no nothing. Like, this is very much, and you and I talked about it with our highest level swimmer, the highest level swimmer that you and I worked with together. We always talked about trying to find a way to make it about the process and not make it about the result. Because you touched on it. You have like these 2 meets a year, however many meets a year, arbitrary, that you need to push for a best time. And if it doesn't happen, does that mean you're a failure? Because if that means you're a failure, then what are we basing this off of? Right? The wind changed direction. There were whatever. So you were sick. You didn't eat the right thing the night before. Your sleep was off. James made you do too many split squats 3 days ago. Whatever it might have been. But making it about the process, and you do such a great job with that when swimmers or athletes get really, really hung up on, like, oh, the next competition is coming up, you can sort of pull them back and say, like, if you're thinking about that, do you think that you're actually developing towards that fastest time? Like, you're taking away your a large part of what we do is here, regardless of if we're executing a physical, and this is my swimming motion, is doggy paddling. But if I'm executing this while I'm thinking about my meet on the weekend, I'm not dedicating to the craft, right? And so really taking this process over result approach, I think, is massive, and you do such a good job with that. And I think so many people appreciate that and maybe don't applaud it enough. So I'm doing that publicly right now. But also, like, you offer so much beyond just sort of like survival skills in the water for the young ones, and so much beyond, coaching for swimmers. You're a mentor to a lot of kids. You're a strong male figure in an industry where in an area that there's a lot of bad things that have happened in sport. Coaches don't treat people nicely, or they're doing things that should never be done, and these kinds of things. And your unique approach to do it with a smile and impart that naturally is amazing. And I think everybody should have access to that. And so on behalf of everybody that you've worked with, all the athletes you worked with, again, like, I just want to thank you. You've influenced myself and all of us greatly in the short time that we got to know you in person. And now we have a virtual relationship, so we can do like online dating if we need to.
Sounds fun.
Until we get back into the pool. And then when you get up here, we'll make sure that we get some things figured out, and then hopefully we'll be back down there, or we'll connect with the swim club coming that way, and maybe I can tag along as like a chaperone or something.
Yeah, man, whatever needs to happen, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, very, very good, man. Did you watch Tiger King yet or no? I know it's old now, but did you watch it?
I did watch Tiger King. I
You watched.
watched it during the quarantine time. I did.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. But you're out of quarantine, so that was early on. This is still getting older. Time keeps going by, but I keep asking the same question. So I just have an ongoing tally. I think that makes it 21-16. I think you just broke a streak of a bunch of no's in a row. So good
Okay.
for you.
21. Yes. Is that what it is?
21 yeses. Yeah, I think that's where we're at. And 16 no. But you had a streak of like 3 or 4 no's in a row. So you interrupted that nicely. So you went against the grain. And you weren't just jumping on the trend, so that's good. That's very you to do that and just sort of take your own path and take a different look at things. So yeah, nice, man. I'm glad you guys are back out in the pool. I'm glad you're back out running around and helping all the people that you help out. We also we did talk about that one swimmer who was very focused and is hopefully back in the water and driven again after all this downtime. But she is a young woman who has set a bunch of national records in the Bahamas. And I just want to talk a little bit about like how you differ within an elite program. Maybe you have elite level swimmers, but then you have I don't know, super elite. What would you call it? Like platinum elite? I won't let you say it publicly because maybe one of them will pick it up. But I think it's obvious. You know, this is a young woman who gets in the water and it's like, bam. I'll just tell a brief story about her because I think it's a reflection of you and coaching her for as long as you have. She's such a great athlete that the gentleman who coaches the soccer team asked her to come out and play soccer one day for the school team, and the game finished at I think 5 o'clock or something like this, and they had been in the pool since 4:30. Is that right? Yeah, 4:30. And so all her teammates at the elite level have been in the pool for at least half an hour. She was at soccer. I had definitely like, okay, she's not here today. She's going to go soccer and then she's going to go home, get something to eat, go to sleep, maybe do her homework. And the game ended at 5 and she was in the water and she had already warmed up and done, I don't know how many meters before the coaches got back into the office, which is right beside the pool. And so like this mindset is very unique. It's not the norm for 14, 15-year-old, young swimmer. But how did, we work together on how we're going to shape this one, how we're going to, cater to the competitive schedule for her, etc. How do you sort of differentiate within the program for her? While everybody else is certainly elite and certainly competitive, but obviously she's a few lengths ahead of them in terms of development, drive, and like mindset is definitely a separator for her too.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest difference you see in her is that mindset and that inner motivator. She's able to motivate herself to do things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's huge. And I think it really started with the early years when I first came, which is 4 years now, and her being 11-year-old, kind of fresh in the sport, as well as I don't know if it's appropriate to mention the level of training that was happening prior to my time there. But we kind of looked at the program as a babysitting program, and then just trying to change that culture of the club and really transform it into something more, something that I believe that it had the true potential to be. And a lot of conversations early, just to really get those swimmers thinking the right way. And I think over time they got it. She was one that really, really got it. And I think for her, just the other day, she came out of practice and said, "Hey, coach, I started warm up and my breathing felt off. So I focused on my breathing for the rest of practice. And at the end of practice, my breathing was better."
Yeah,
something as simple as that is so meaningful to me, and I feel like, that is it. If we can just get that little bit better each day and you're thinking that kind of way, then we're going to be really, really good.
Yeah. How dialed in are you at 15 to know, like, I'm going to work on my breath because it was off?
Yeah, this
like,
one thing.
I didn't start thinking about breathing until like I don't know. I definitely wasn't 15, and I definitely wasn't swimming, and I was doing some different things with my breathing at 15 that I probably shouldn't have done. But you know, I
I
think,
mean, I can add to that a little bit
yeah,
more.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think the next thing that she does really well is she finds ways in each workout to be competitive with whoever it is in the pool.
Mhm.
So if it's someone faster than her, then obviously she's gonna try to keep up with them. But if it's someone not or slower than her, then she's, gonna swim another stroke, or she's gonna try to lap them, or just being creative, and making each day exciting. I think she does a great job of that.
Yeah, and so when we look at biological age only, again, this comes back to looking at the person, the human, in this case, the athlete in front of you, and all the other factors that add into being an athlete. But you know, if we train to her biological age, we're doing her a disservice, right?
Yeah.
So you and I talked about this, and I bounced it off of you. Like, you know, do you feel like doing some of these bigger moves with load is going to take away from her pool, from her times, from her training capabilities? And then we very quickly found out that this is only going to enhance, and this is where the art form comes in with the science. And like, we trained her to her training age outside of the pool as well, right? So we took biological age, we took all the considerations into effect, joint development, and threw out all the bad information that's out there, like lifting weights is going to stunt your growth, or like all the other things that are very much outdated. But and really attacked outside of the pool too, right?
Yeah.
And so when we were working together, I relied heavily on you, and I think this is important for therapists to understand too. You don't just come in and overhaul, or strength conditioning people, or people in performance. You don't just come in and overhaul and add what you want to do. There needs to be consideration to what the coach is doing. The coach needs to consider what you're doing valuable, and all of those things contribute to what's most valuable, which is the athlete's well-being, and in this case, like performance and well-being. So we had a 15-year-old. She was 14 when I started with her. She was squatting more than her body weight. She was certainly deadlifting more than her body weight under load. Not that everybody needs to squat or deadlift, but she was just one of those people that tactile and kinesthetically aware of her ability, right? And so you talk about her capabilities to just notice, like, oh, I'm not breathing well today, I'm going to start working on that. Like, that's amazing insight for a 15-year-old, for any athlete. And we had Alex, who was on, you met her, when she came down
Yeah.
to the Bahamas. Alex Town was on, and she talked about this instant where she was getting pinned. And she's like, oh, I'm not going to lose. I know I'm getting pinned. Let me just try to figure this out. How am I going to get out of this? And she actually talked about, if you saw the episode, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
She looked up at the massive TV that was up above in the arena and said, like, oh, hey, look, I'm getting pinned. Oh, all right, I can get out of this, no problem. Like time slowed down,
Slow
and
it
she was
down.
able to. And I heard some of your swimmers, and I've heard you talk about it, like in a fast-paced sport like swimming, it's like you have this ability to just zoom and understand when a stroke is going well, understand when you're going to need to do certain things in the sport. And having that conversation with you and with this young woman as well, it's just amazing to see how dialed in some of those really, really high performing individuals can get, and to also look back at, like, when they just first started, how they got from that point to that point. And you touched on internal drivers for sure. There has to be that. And Ryan, the biomechanist, talked about that as well. You need to identify the people who want to go that route, because
Right.
if I put any other swimmer, I think, in that program under the load and stress that I put her under physically, as well as emotionally, and all the ties that has, I don't think any one of them would have survived. They probably wouldn't be swimming anymore, right? And she just wanted to do more and more and more and more and more, which is great. But again, that comes back to communication and your willingness to say, you have expertise in this, let's talk it through, and then look at a schedule and a calendar and sort of do that. So I look forward to more of that in the future too, by the way. Like, just remotely, we can do certainly a lot of that, and navigate. But yeah, your handling of the highest level and your handling of the youngest swimmers is fantastic. Your ability to be pliable enough to do all of those things should be applauded, and I'm glad to see that things are moving forward. And I hope that facility gets built, and I hope that you not only get a seat at the table, but you have a voice voice during the meal as well to make sure that can. I think I read that somewhere this week, but
That's a good one.
yeah, it's one thing to have a seat at the table. It's another to have a voice during dinner, right? So yeah, I look forward to what that looks like for you and all the things that you're doing and the constant development of yourself as a person. I know you guys have done a lot of stuff with coaching certifications and mental health and mental wellness and a lot of the things that are, fairly new in the Bahamas in the sporting world, right?
Yeah.
And in the sporting world in general. It's like sort of taking on component parts of that mental state is definitely beneficial for all. It's about an hour in here now. Let's chat an athletic therapy roundtable session 26 with Mancer Roberts. Anybody who's listening in, including siblings or family members or kids or whoever, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in here or just unmute and ask away. Other than can I come down for vacation when it gets I don't
That's
know.
automatic. Yes. That's a yes.
That's a yes. You're coming in. Yeah. As soon as it hits a month that starts with S, I think as soon as it hits September, people start looking for vacation. But but no. If there's anything from Mancer or myself with regards to this, please feel free to type those in as we go. If there's nothing else, if there aren't any questions coming in, then I'll just keep going with my series of questions. So the pool in the Bahamas is outdoors. I know there's people that train indoors. What from a performance standpoint or like a feel standpoint, what differs indoors and outdoors, training or competing?
Well, one of the biggest things that I've seen or experienced is swimming backstroke. I was a backstroker growing up. And so one of the biggest things you see is most indoor backstrokers sometimes use air-conditioned vents or something in the ceiling to help them to swim straight. And there's a cool story that one of my coaches once said when he swam in his first outdoor pool was he started looking for something in the ceiling to help him to swim straight backstroke. So he chose a cloud. And obviously that cloud didn't lead him straight to the other end of the pool. And so, I mean, one of the biggest things, I mean, is outdoor, there's so many other things that can distract you or that can change. There's wind, the wind factor. That's huge if you're swimming a 50-meter freestyle. If you're coming from one end of the pool and the wind is out of the east, it could be at your back or at your face, and that makes a difference. We don't have like in track where they have wind aid time or no wind aid or whatever that might be. So your time is your time, whether the wind's blowing in your face or it's blowing to your back. And then I guess like ventilation issues you might have, humidity, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, environmental factors for sure.
Pool temperature, those kind of stuff. Couple of things, but I got some pretty good sunburn from the sun swimming and coaching on the deck all the time.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can relate to that.
So it's a couple of things, but I mean, whatever it is, it's a pool. I mean, you got a 25-meter, 25-yard, 50-meter, whatever it might be. It might be green, it might be blue. But get better. That's what we're after.
Every day, man. Just a little bit, right? One conversation at a time.
A little bit at a time.
There we go. How about a couple characteristics or something like that may work well around the pool, or things that don't work, either from a coaching perspective, things that generally work well with athletes, or with personnel, like sport performance personnel that you've worked with in the past or had personally or experience with. General traits that go well with your experience and things that might not in terms of the swimming world or just life in general, I guess.
We definitely talk about resilience a lot, perseverance, being the sport that we are, where you might not see a best time for 6 months, or you're training for 5 months to hopefully swim a best time at that championship meet. And so definitely you need someone that is going to be able to deal with that if they get to that end of that road and it's not what they expected it to be.
Right.
You need to be a hard worker, as we do in all aspects of life. But I think, that self-motivator, someone that's able to find the motivation within themselves every day to come in and just do the best that they can. I mean, every day is not going to be what you deem your best, but if you're given that effort, I think that's so important. So I just always look for self-motivated people, resilient people, determined people. And I think those are some of the most important things if you want to be successful in life and as well as in the sport of swimming.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good question just coming in. How do you ensure young athletes have a balance of whole development? So much goes into the pool training, but you have a young person still figuring out the world and their place in it, etc.
Okay. So for a young swimmer, definitely, I mean, it comes around, like, we obviously want everyone to learn how to swim. I mean, at the bare minimum, we want
Yep.
you to know how to swim.
Yep.
And then developing from there, if the child is interested in being competitive, sometimes they're not early and they develop that competitive edge, or sometimes they're afraid of what competition is. So in the early years, I think it is important to encourage them to at least try it. I mean, in my environment specifically, we have, a lot of kids that I feel are timid and shy to go out and fail. Failure is something that they're afraid of. So I think that's the biggest deterrent for a lot of them competing. But you find that a lot of them, once they get out there and they experience it, they enjoy it. And so, I mean, I think the development has to be obviously a lot of pool time. I mean, because it's a different environment. You need to get in the water to be better in water.
Right.
Yep. Especially as a young human trying to adapt. But once that adaptation to water is made and they're comfortable and they're able to do well, I think starting to watch and develop the body like you, someone like you, that would be able to help with is training, not just in the pool, but what we do on land is gonna relate. It's gonna translate to the pool. So I think it's important to do both land training as well as what we do in the pool, and try to balance both and try to make sure that they're having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you add in like school and the next question we'll get to here in a second, but you add in school and all the other things that young athletes are going through, and to maintain that balance, I think what gets missed a lot of the time is like we're taking away from all the other things that they're doing in life. So like all the time in the pool is taking away from their school. Well, I'd argue that it's probably 50-50. All that time is also helping them develop some of the qualities and characteristics that you touched on, resilience, perseverance, how to struggle, how to fail, because that's a thing that not a lot of us are very good at, right?
Yeah.
And when we do, how do we, like, how do you get your head above water and keep it there? Well, sometimes you got to tread, other times you got to swim real fast if something's chasing you, and other times you just got to get out of the pool,
Yeah.
and I think all those lessons are taught. They're sort of innate to what you do, and to athletics. So the balanced end of things is it's tough. It's tough to navigate those things for other people, but they have to be willing as well, right? Yeah. So that's part of it too. How do you keep swimmers engaged when they're struggling through injuries or life stresses?
So I think once again, trying to keep it fun. Obviously, I think there will be points where maybe you need to adjust what your goals are. Or we find a lot with girls, in teenage years struggle. And they struggle a lot because the performance is not what they want or what they expect it to be, or their times are not improving, with, here again, all the external things going on in their lives during those years play a huge factor.
Yep.
And so I think trying to just change the main goal or change the main idea of what we're trying to get out of this sport can really help in those difficult times. I mean, not to lose sight of what it is that you want, but just to divert a little bit and find something else to make you enjoy what it is. Because at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying it, I mean, you're not going to get the most out of it. And for me, having that passion is huge. And I mean, it's part of the reason why I kind of had an early ending to my swim career, because I pretty much lost the passion. And when that's gone, then it's just a stressor. And so that's what we try to stay away from. And whatever it takes to do that is important, because a stressful swimmer is not a fast swimmer.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, and I think you do a great job with all these things. It's just a lot of the readings that I've been doing lately and tying some of my thoughts together after a career and that's sort of branched over a bunch of different elements and facets and moving into a new venture now. We sometimes talk about KPIs in sport performance, which are key performance indicators. For the most part, took a really interesting reading slowly through a really interesting course in the Altus performance therapy world. They do a great job going through philosophical approaches to why we're doing what we're doing and how we're going to do them. And they look at KPIs not only as key performance indicators, but they turn KPI on its head and say, all right, we can always assess key performance indicators. Like they're getting faster, they're getting stronger, however you're going to choose to evaluate those. But the flip side of indicators are inhibitors. And so if you don't look at KPIs as key performance inhibitors, or you don't analyze what those inhibitors are, again, you're missing the boat. You're missing a large portion of where people struggle. Right. And if you don't acknowledge the struggle, or at least acknowledge and refer, or acknowledge and defer, and give them an opportunity to go somewhere else to get help with those things, you miss a lot of that, the human component, the connected component, and ultimately you're going to take away from performance if there are more if the inhibitors are greater than the indicators, right? So some really good stuff pulling out of this conversation and sort of connecting to some of the terminology that we use on the sport performance side with coaches and without. Just trying to read through this. Swimming is hard to emulate out of the water. How was it dealing with not being able to get in the pool during the lockdown? Do you have any advice for coping mentally with that separation from the sport? So as a coach and experiential, you're not a mental health coach. Obviously, you're not going to step outside of that realm and say this is what everybody needs to do. But experientially speaking, did you have much experience with that? And if so, yeah, this is a great question.
Yeah, definitely the lockdown was a difficult period for swimmers. Like we know, we spend majority of our training time in the water. And so taking that environment away was kind of difficult to find the best way to work with these kids. And I think what was important was just staying connected with them, or trying to stay connected as best as possible, and having questions or questionnaires, just doing some short dry land videos as a team, and just trying as best as possible to keep them connected, I think was huge. Connected to teammates, as well as connected to myself and our two awesome coaches that I have not mentioned once, but they have been really huge backing and support for everything that I said and everything that we've done in the last 4 years. But I think it's just important to make sure that we understand that this is life. Things do change. We do have to adapt. And like I said, I think a resilient person is almost required to be a swimmer. So if they have that resilience, this getting through this lockdown period and just being able to adapt to the changes is definitely something that can help.
Yeah, awesome take on it, and awesome outlook as always. And for me, just to touch on that a little bit as well, is exactly where this platform came from as well. From a very genuine place of how do we connect people in this quote unquote disconnected time, so providing conversation, providing insight, reaching out, and there was some really great mental health stuff, still is out there available for free in terms of resources, but just being that person that can reach out, and not necessarily reaching out to the person who is struggling, but it's the ones that aren't saying anything that need to check in a lot of the times as well. So if you're the person, or you have the capacity to just reach out and say, hey, how you're doing, how are you doing? And is there anything I can do, or
Yeah.
just saying hi, I'm doing a lot of reading right now, a whole bunch of books all at the same time from different areas. You know me, pick up one book, read 3 pages, put it down because something shiny went by the window, and then do it again. But there's a lot to be said for when you feel like you're a part of something bigger than you,
Yeah.
or that you're rowing in the same direction. You might not be in the same boat, but everybody's struggling. There's a lot of power in community and in connectedness. So those are all really great points. And the other side of it for me is very much exploring, meditation and mindfulness. Those are scary words to some people, and myself included, probably 6, 7, 8 years ago. Those would have been like, oh man, who can do that? Like only people that know how to levitate off the floor. When really, it comes down to, for me, again, coming back around to some of the guests we've had on, is like simplicity works for me. I'm not a bright guy, but simple things seem to resonate with me. Maybe because I'm not that bright, but simple things like if I can check in intentfully on how I'm feeling before I react, or go internal first before you go external. If you have that ability to dive in, then you can help yourself and help others. So all of the stuff you said tonight, Mancer, has been amazing. Every conversation is always influential in the way I see things, the way that I view all the things that we've done together and will do in the future. And your impact on so many people goes far beyond the pool deck. That I hope everybody out there reaches out to you just to say hi and introduce themselves, and then we grow this community one more person at a time, and that has a spin-off effect where good people resonate with good people, and good people are all over the place. And I think the more connected we can be with guests on here, to grow a little bit of awareness about what athletic therapy is, what athletic training is, where the integrative model can go, and it can go for the ripple effect is massive, and I think hearing you speak, and again reiterating some of the things of there's a lot of room in amateur sport for athletic therapists and practitioners that can really make some big change across the board. So hopefully you continue to have a lot of good support in the future. I'm happy to be that support from a distance, and in person. I do weekend stuff. So like once we're allowed, I could fly down and do a nice little vacation package
Well, I got a birthday coming up in August, so I don't know what you got planned.
All right. Well, it might be virtual because I don't think that's deemed, at least not yet. But I could write a letter. It might not be deemed essential travel, but there are conditional rules on top of it.
Ways around it, man. It's ways around.
Yeah, I'm getting a couple messages just saying a swim exchange is very much in the cards this way. So we can try to make that happen as well. I'm happy to connect you in that way. I don't see any other questions here. I could talk to you for years, and I'll do a better job of doing that now that I have now that we've settled a little bit more. Let's stay in touch. I really appreciate you taking the time tonight, Mancer. Mancer Roberts, our guest on Let's Chat session 26, an athletic therapy round table. A little bit of housekeeping just before I let you go. Thanks to everybody for being on. This Wednesday is actually Canada Day. So our guest is Glenn Bergeron, who is one of the gurus in athletic therapy in Canada. And as such, we're going to push that to Thursday. So this week will be a Thursday Let's Chat instead of a Wednesday. I also think I have to generate a new password and ID because I forgot to update it. But I'll send that out through Instagram and all the channels that I can do. So that's a little bit of housekeeping. Everybody for being on. This has been great. A lot of thank yous coming in. Mancer, again, really appreciate you taking the time and for all that you've done for everybody that you've done it for and with, and certainly from my heart, much appreciated, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Appreciate it. And this was an awesome opportunity. This is not something that I do very common or very often. I'm a face-to-face kind of guy. This wasn't bad. I'm a hands-on kind of guy, but this was pretty good, and I'm happy for the opportunity and you helping me to continue to grow as a young human being.
Well, as soon as we can do it, we'll do it with gloves and whatever else we need to do. But much appreciated, man. This has been fantastic. I'll let you go say hi to everybody down there for me, and like I said, if you guys need anything, just reach out. We have this platform, and we have I don't have a loud voice, but I have a phone that works, so we could do it that way too.
Certainly. Thank you, James.
All right, man. Good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, I'm going to stop recording. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check us out online, firststartherapy.com. That's FIRSTAR therapy.com. Or email us with feedback, consult@firststartherapy.com. CONSULT@firststartherapy.com. On Instagram @firststar.therapy, and our podcast host @letschat.at. This is First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast.